Here I am again, part 2 of my voiceover drawing my gem characters. Yay. um, so yeah, I'm back again with part 2, and we're still with my Rebellion characters, and the first one here is the Team Permafusion. Yay, because of course we needed it. And she has a fun story, let me tell you. So this is Ametrine, the big giant permafusion of the Rebel Gems. She's actually technically the 7th of the main Rebels, the last one, which I threw in after the first 6 were all kind of created together, but she was adding it in the end because she had a fun story, and after I made her, I put so much work into her that I just you know what? She's joining the squad, so yeah. Her story is actually kind of funny because as I love looking around at gem characters because there's so much creativity with certain ones and all this other kind of stuff that I enjoy going around and seeing what other people make. And I'd seen a lot of Ametrines and stuff, particularly with, but they were either single gem characters, which I didn't really mind, but then I'd see fusions of Ametrine. And what bugged me all the time was that these fusions that were called Ametrine were typically 2 totally random gems. It'd be I don't know, I can't even really describe it. I've even seen Jasper Amethyst fusions that were Ametrine before, you know? And what bugged me about it was because Ametrine was legitimately named because it looked like an amethyst and a citrine fused together. Yet not a single fusion I found, maybe I found one and I don't remember it, but not a single one I found had actually been a fusion of an amethyst and a citrine. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna do it because no one else has as far as I've seen. So here we are. And so Ametrine was born, and she's a fusion of a amethyst made by me and a citrine also made by me. She's the giant cool aunt of the rebels. She's kind of like the tank when it comes to fighting, and because she's huge, she's pretty hard to take, she's strong, and although she's not very fast, let me tell you, she's not the fastest in the world, but she's like a total tank. She's hard to take down. In fact, even the 2 that make up Ametrine here have an interesting story about how they fell in love, because they're in love, obviously, if it wasn't obvious by the fact that there's a double heart on her chest. But the way the 2 characters fell in love is rather interesting because they actually originally hated each other. They despised each other, although they both joined the rebellion for similar reasons. They both despised each other. Citrine hated Amethyst because she was super kind of impulsive and reckless, and then Amethyst hated Citrine because she thought she was too relaxed, to love everyone, to kind of PC, and she also thought she was very bossy because Citrine would sometimes tell her what to do, and she'd be like, "You can't tell me what to do, you're not my mom." So, you know, that's it. But then they fell in love later on, and you know, speaking of the power couple, here we go. This is my Amethyst, whom I actually made before the Famethyst even showed up. And it was kind of funny because during that episode, you should have seen me. I was scouring the background of where all the amethysts were, looking for one with it on their navel, trying to be like, my MOC must be real, you know. But I say I did a pretty decent job with her, although I did mimic a lot of the colors that Canon Amethyst had. I mean, you can obviously tell I robbed the colors of her gem. But I mean, I didn't just I didn't take an eyedropper and totally copy the colors. At least I didn't try to. I mean, if they're really, really close, I must be very good at eyeballing it. But I tried eyeballing it because I wasn't sure how much I could have stretched the Canon. Obviously now I know I could have stretched it pretty far. But yeah, so I did take quite a few colors from Canon Amethyst. I won't lie about that. I'm a rather big fan of her design because I thought I incorporated her rebel symbol pretty well into her outfit, and she's she's pretty like impulsive, reckless, kind of like Canon Amethyst, but at the same time she's extremely moody. There's actually a picture you can find on my DeviantArt that shows like, oh, how the times have changed, or like never changes. I don't remember what it's called, but there's a picture of Citrine and Amethyst on there. It's pretty funny. At least I think it's funny. But she's rather loud, rather reckless. She's also pretty moody. Like if she messes up, she'll become like she'll just go like total like puppy eyes mode, like please forgive me, bae, you know, because obviously the only person she asks for forgiveness for is Citrine. But yeah, so the reason why she hated Citrine was because she thought Citrine was bossy and that she didn't like being told what to do, and she thought she was way too like peaceful and whatnot. So she's just kind of like, well, I gotta get super competitive now, and anything that happens is her fault. Like anytime anything ever happened, it was always Citrine's fault. It was actually, she was the one reluctant to fuse with Citrine, because the reason they fused the first time was because it was a dire situation. They're like, okay, let's fuse. She was just like, I'm not too sure about that, but they ended up doing it, and yeah. And so here comes a girlfriend, and this is Citrine. She was kind of inspired a bit by Rose Quartz in the fact that she's sort of like a quote-unquote, I call her like a noble soldier, which is what I kind of headcanon Rose kind of was. Like, so she was a bit fancier. I don't know if that's actually true in canon, obviously, but she was kind of based on Rose, just a little bit, you know. The dress most certainly was, if you can't tell. But she's a lot more peaceful and patient and kind and all that kind of stuff. Although she is still rather strong, but she's more in the defensive sense. Again, kind of like Rose. She's more defensive than offensive, which Amethyst is obviously the exact opposite. But she was the one who she didn't like Amethyst originally because she thought she was too reckless, too like, you know, impulsive and moody, and she's just like, look, you gotta think for a minute. And Amethyst was like, no, I'm not thinking, you need to shut up, that's what you need to do. And so they fought all the time, and although Citrine was more mature about it, she didn't hide the fact that she didn't really like Amethyst that much. But what happened was, the first time they fused was they were it was like a really dire situation, obviously, and they like were cornered, and she's like, okay, look, we have to fuse. Nobody else on our team has done it yet, although we know it exists. They were all just kind of hesitant about doing it. So after some convincing, Amethyst goes through with it, and they fuse, and when they unfuse, they're kind of laughing like, wow, that was amazing. And they kind of realized they have more in common than what they thought, and so their arc started going towards the romantic side, and they became the team gays, and it was all great, and they were the first in the Rebels to fuse. Speaking about team gays, of course, me being me, you probably could have assumed that I had my own Ruby and Sapphire, and the reason I have them is probably a bit different than I just wanted them. It was more I wanted them because there was something a bit different I wanted to do. So this is my Ruby, and this little Ruby right here, someone on DeviantArt actually created the original design, and I made alterations to it, and I can't remember their name offhand, but I'm sure if you go to my DeviantArt and you find the original picture of this Ruby, or Rue, as I like to call her, I put a credit to the person who helped me out, because I really like the design. I think the design's rather neat. But this is my Ruby, and although she's got the sort of like kind of fighty, kind of a bit stupid mindset of most Rubies have in the canon, she's she's a lot more sweet and cuddly, so to speak. Although I will say, she doesn't hate anyone, except for one gem in particular, whom you're about to see. And that gem is the sapphire I made, because, well, that's the whole reason I made them, was because I've seen a lot of people make Ruby and Sapphire characters in a relationship, so they basically make their own garnet, which is all cool, but I thought there's so much of that. I kind of want to do something a bit different. So rather than making a Ruby and Sapphire that loved each other, I made a Ruby and Sapphire that despise each other with every portion of their being. Speaking of which, here comes Cognate Sapphire, who's she was an adoptable I actually bought because I was looking for a Sapphire, couldn't really figure out a good design. found a really nice design, so I bought it. And again, credit to that's on the original picture that I drew her in first time. And she's, unlike Canon Sapphire, she's a lot more hot-headed and wants to do things herself kind of thing. She doesn't like other people do, like, she's kind of has the mindset like, you want something done, you gotta do it yourself, you know? And she and Ruby get in fights all the time because they just really don't like each other. Although they are rather similar in kind of some of their personality, like, they both kind of want to do it themselves. Ruby actually in this situation is Rue is more on the peaceful side and like, I don't really want to hurt anyone unless I have to, and Cognate Sapphire is just like, what are you doing? Slap them. What are you doing, Ruby? Punch them in the face. And of course Ruby doesn't want to do that, so Cognate gets really peeved off. But they're not actually considered in the actual crew, and they're not on my Fuse Day Tuesday poll, if you haven't noticed. I've been considering adding them, but I'm not so sure if I am or not. But they're kind of like side characters, but I still love them nonetheless. So, you know, yeah, that's part 2 of my gem characters. The next part is actually going to include characters of mine that aren't Rebel gems. They are Homeworld gems. So that should be fun. Or, well, 2 of them are Homeworld gems. The last one is neutral, but they're just as fun regardless. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed learning about these nerds. You guys seem to like these, so I'll probably come out with more videos similar to this in the future. But anyway, hope you enjoyed these nerds, and see y'all later. Bye. Zodiac out. I screwed it up again. Zodiac out. Bye-bye. Whatever I have for my outro, I don't even know anymore.